Welcome to the Tides Are Off podcast, where with Tom, Dav and myself, we're looking forward to talking more on the property and mortgaging.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 3. So today's structure, we've got, we're going to be discussing an area of interest, and the area of interest this week is going to be High Wycombe. Thanks very much to Will Stereo, who gave us an email. He's been interested in about selling and buying in the High Wycombe area, so we've got some hot stats essentially to provide for you, Will, and everyone else listening in your area. Apart from that, then we're going to jump onto the mortgage story. We're going to have a property topic, a mortgage topic. We're going to go through our tip of the week. But we're going to start off as always with our quiz.
We are indeed. So first question, what term important in the house buying process derives from an old French meaning, dead pledge?
Finally. Question 2. What's the E word that means someone other than the person who owns a property has the legal right to use it, at least for a specific reason?
Number 3, you can let out your house with a residential mortgage. True or false?
Ooh, can't wait for that one.
Number 4, and?
Okay. And what's the current base rate? What is the current base rate?
And 5 for our general knowledge. How many of Henry VIII's wives were called Catherine?
Bit of a fun one there.
So jumping on to our area of the week, first one in a different area. Thanks again, Will Stereo, for popping in the email there. And as we said, every single week we're gonna pick an email out of a hat essentially, and we're gonna do some stats, figures, and information. Same every week, but in different locations all over, wherever you're coming from. And yeah, we'll provide it then on the following podcast. So we've gone to High Wycombe for this one.
Shall I start?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, we'll start. It's exactly the same stats every week. So we'll go with the best average yield, and it's in HP11, which is the sort of centre of High Wycombe, and the average yield is at 4.6%, according to property.xyz.
Next one, best bang for your buck. So best bang for your buck is actually in HP12. The average price per square foot is £374, and again that's come from property.xyz.
The most expensive house in High Wycombe currently on the market is a guide price of £3 million, and it's a very nice 4-bed detached house, along with a 2-bed barn conversion that are on 8.5 acres of land, and that's marketed by Savills in High Wycombe.
Oh, I could do some of that down here, really.
Well, that is expensive compared to Swansea.
That is a nice price. Nice price. Okay, and then that leads us on to the cheapest house. In fact, we've got 3.
Yeah,
they're all varied properties. Starting with one on Lee Street in HP11, marketed by JNP. It's a studio, I believe, for 39,000.
A really nice studio actually.
But there's a caveat with this one.
Yeah. So this is actually a shared equity property. So the amount that it's down for, 39,800, would actually only give you a 20% share in the property. So that does look like the cheapest property on the market.
There's always a caveat.
Yeah, there's a little caveat there.
Always.
And that's something to watch out for as well, isn't it? Because you're looking. And you think
definitely. We do have it a little bit down here in Swansea, but it's definitely something that happens more often as you get closer to London, I guess, and when the properties are a bit more expensive.
Yeah.
So there's another property which comes in at £110,000, and that's a 2-bed maisonette on Lansdowne Way in HP11 as well. But there's another caveat with that one, and
There is. This one is over 60s only, so unless you're 60 plus, that one's not for you.
So if you are under 60 and you want full ownership of a property, the cheapest property on the market in High Wycombe is on for 130,000, and it's a studio on Totteridge Avenue in HP13. There's one more stat, I think, Davy.
There is one more stat.
Average
So the
price.
average price points then. Over the last 12 months, according to Zoopla, the average price point in High Wycombe is £475,611.
That almost double Swansea.
That is very different to Swansea.
Yeah.
Very, very different to us.
Let's not slate that hometown, boys.
Cheaper to invest.
Yeah.
100%.
So get your emails in. If you want us to get those stats on your area, send us the email it in. What's the email, and?
Inquiries at no.
Generally, what's the email?
Yeah, I know. Inquiries at thetiesareoffpodcast.co.uk, and I'll just say it one more time, really slowly. Inquiries at thetiesareoffpodcast.co.uk. This week's mortgage story is actually to do with two different topics. There's one topic to do with a general sort of mortgage sourcing company that we and many other mortgage brokers use to get their mortgage lenders and quotes together. So 20 Tech is saying that in January they've actually had record sales, or record inquiries I should say, for mortgage searches. So with the mortgage searches, they're saying that they've had 1.59 million 695, which they are saying is 98.2% bigger than the previous month. So it's a huge point there where people are trying to say that, you know, last month might have been quieting down because of Christmas. We've said it on the previous episodes, things are really picking up this year for a lot of brokers.
Yeah, obviously that's a bit mad, that statistic. I mean, we have seen a jump, and we always do in January after a bit of a tends to be a bit of a quieter December, more so this year because of the interest rate hike and the mini budget, but almost 100% more.
No, I know. You know, and it doesn't surprise me because I'm sure you guys will back me up. But in December, as it always does at Christmas time, we do always see the decline. But you know, that is just, you know, that is phenomenal figures. But yeah, that's point one, and point two is actually to do with statistical data from the last couple of years. So according to ukfinance.org.uk, the last year we've seen sales of around 320 billion of mortgages, and for the next projection, for the next year projection I should say, we're looking at about 270 billion. So again, you know, I've literally just said that we're seeing record months with one mortgage sourcing company, but it is also looking like we may see a steady decline this year on average.
Yeah, but I from those stats as well, we can see that in 2019 it was 269 billion. So as we've been mentioning, it's just becoming more normal. There's nothing to worry about. We had that crazy year last year, which we've mentioned so many times. It'd be interesting to see in that 320 billion mortgages, £billion worth of mortgages put through. It'd be interesting to see how many were done in the first 8 months, the first two-thirds.
Yeah.
It'll be most of them, I think, because it was crazy.
100%.
And you know what you'll probably find as well is with the 320 billion mortgages and then 270, and like Tom's saying, there was another year where I think we've seen a more similar year to what this year is projecting. We've talked about it in previous episodes. Just you'll see trends, you'll see things go up and down. It's just the way the mortgage market works. But it's not any reason for anybody to just think that, you know, we're in a sudden downturn or anything like that. It's just the way the mortgage market works, isn't it?
Just a quick correction.
Yeah, same with us. We weren't anticipating, and I think a lot of agents out there weren't anticipating such a cracking start to the year, really, with new instructions, sales and what have you. So, you know, as Andrew said, it's all relative to trends and things like that in the marketplace, isn't it?
Yeah, great stuff. Cheers, Anne.
So, following on the last podcast, me and Tom thought it'd be, or tie in nicely, if we went through together a list of home buyers tips as well for you guys. If you're currently looking for a new home or are looking to start house hunting soon, here are some tips to help you on your way to getting from that initial search and through to completion.
Yeah, so tip number one, similar to last week, calculate the cost of buying a house. Your outgoings when buying a house aren't limited to just the deposit, so it's really important to take in consideration the other costs involved when purchasing a property and when deciding a budget to search. A few things to consider are stamp duty, which if you're in Wales, comes in when you buy a property over 225,000. In England and Northern Ireland are the same, aren't they, Dav?
250.
Yeah, and in Scotland it's over 145,000. You've also got the area searches to consider, possibly if you're getting a house survey, and the cost of using conveyance and solicitors as well. Make sure you think of all these because they are added costs.
A lot to consider, definitely. Okay, so next step, ideally, speak to a mortgage broker if you're intending to buy with a mortgage. Mortgage deals are a minefield, as many of you will know. We certainly do. Depending on your deposit, there are various fees, term lengths and rates to get your head around. A good broker should be able to cut out the jargon and simplify this down to sort you the best rates in a way that you can understand.
Another thing they can obviously do for you, Dav, is get you a mortgage agreement in principle. Before buying a house, you should get yourself an agreement in principle. This is a confirmation stating how much your lender is prepared to lend you to buy a property. This also gives yourself an idea of how much a mortgage lender is prepared to let you borrow, and will give you basically the best indication of the maximum budget you should be looking at when you're looking for a house.
Yeah, and most estate agents will not even consider accepting a formal offer unless they have seen an agreement in principle at least. That's an AIP, an agreement in principle at least, and some may not even let you view houses on the market.
Sometimes a bit harsh, I think.
I think so too.
Okay, number 3, once your finances are in place, get hunting. Either appoint an agent to assist you and register your details with all the local agents actually on the online portals, and then book your viewings. Having your solicitor ready and your deposit and mortgage information ready will help you secure a property swiftly, showing the agent you're the perfect buyer. Some agents are refusing viewings if the relevant information isn't available beforehand, so be really efficient.
Definitely. And in our current market, so number 4 this is, in our current market, don't hold back on offering. If it fits the bill, put your offer forward. Do your due diligence, however, with local sales similar over X period of time, other for sale properties in the area. How long have they been on the market for? What has been the property growth percentage in this area, and the since the property had sold, and when did it sell? How much did it sell for? Don't lose sleep over this price. Although nobody wants to be paying crazy sums of money to buy their houses, it is important not to let this hold you back, especially if you're buying for the long term. The average property in the UK has risen by almost £50,000 since June 2020. Yep, that's £50,000. So don't wait to buy land. Buy land and wait.
I love that saying. I absolutely love that saying.
And I've heard you saying it a few times.
We don't mean pay over the odds, do your due diligence like Dav said, but it's not the be all and end all if you're going to be staying in the property. Okay, so tip number 5, be prepared to wait. Once an offer has been accepted, it can take a really, really long time before you complete the purchase and you're able to pick up the keys to your lovely new home. According to Rightmove, midway through last year, on average it was taking 150 days from offer through to completion. That was one of our questions before. That's 5 months. We do believe that this waiting time has decreased a little bit, but still expects the process to take you anywhere between 10 to 20 weeks. To ensure you're doing everything you can to speed up the process, it's important to complete any paperwork and return it as quickly as possible. If you're looking to have a survey on the property, then get this booked straight away. Along with ensuring that your mortgage application is submitted as soon as possible, keep regular contact with your solicitor and put your search money on account with them. And they can get this, they can pay for these as soon as the draft contract in. And that's the thing that takes the longest, really, isn't it, Dav?
Yeah, it is, and it's you know they're really valid points there to get yourselves ready for the buying process. It'll speed it up massively. Lastly, don't be afraid to ask questions. Buying a house is a complicated process for anybody, especially if it's your first time. Don't feel overwhelmed by the jargon and paperwork. If you don't know, just ask.
Get your house on the market. If you're not a first-time buyer and need to sell your home in order to move, make sure you find a good estate agent and get your house on the market. This will make you a much more attractive buyer. Listen to our last podcast, download the PDF for our 3-point plan on preparing your house to sell.
100%. Send us an email if you'd like us to answer anything specifically. We're here to help after all. Good luck. But on the email front, what's the email then?
Inquiries at thetiesareoffpodcast.co.uk. Actually, the only topic I'll be talking about this week is releasing equity from your home. So a lot of the time, there is people who come to various mortgage advisors or lenders and they will ask to release equity from their home, but they will use a term and they'll use the word equity release. And believe it or not, equity release and releasing equity from your home can actually be separated into two different things. And equity...
Sorry, yeah, and I was going to say, can you just explain what equity is, just in case not everyone knows?
Yes, because not everyone's a mind reader. Is equity. So equity is the pot of money that you've made in that house that you have. So obviously you've got the initial deposit that you put in. So again, 100 grand example, you'd be looking at 100 grand, you put down 10 grand, say, you've got that initial 10 grand, and if your property has gone up in price in the market, for example 110 grand, you then got an extra 10 grand, which is your overall equity of 20 grand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
yeah.
you've got. I think
do you understand that? Yeah. That's what equity is, and quite often you get people come into mortgage brokers asking for equity release. Now, equity release is a whole other topic that we'll maybe talk about another time. But again, you have to be qualified in that specific area to talk about it, which some advisors aren't. Equity release is a completely other area that is specialized. It basically specializes in over 55s. So when you do releasing equity from your home, so if you remortgage your house, for example, and you want to, I don't know, write off some debts, or you want to raise money for a buy-to-let, that is releasing equity via a remortgage. So that's completely different altogether, but that is generally what people are speaking about a lot of the time. If you're speaking to someone under 55, say for example, 25-year-old plumber, he's got a lovely house down the Gower, and he wants to...
well for himself.
Yeah, good plumber he is. Yeah, very good plumber. Might get his number. Equity from your remortgage. So, for example, you could put a remortgage application in. You've got, again, the 120 grand house. You've got 90 grand as your mortgage currently, but you want to take out an extra £10,000 because you want to put it on, say, a small buy-to-let somewhere as a deposit. The careful consideration you've got to have when you're doing something like that is you don't know that the money that you're taking out on top of your mortgage is actually enough for that deposit in the first place. So a lot of people will come to you and they'll say, I want to take out an extra 10 grand to get a buy-to-let deposit, not knowing that with a lot of buy-to-lets you actually need 20% deposit at least, and you need second property tax, other costs and so on. So the cost adds up, and that's something that Tom's obviously a portfolio landlord by now, are you?
Yeah, just about.
I think he can relate to.
On that subject then, and what do you actually need for a buy-to-let deposit?
So it will depend. You have got, during COVID, to be honest, it was quite hard to get any buy-to-let mortgage with anything less than 25%. But quite often now you will get a lender that will give you a 20% option. But they are few and far between. You'll get about two or three. It is important to prep the other costs as well. So like I said, second property tax is 4% in Wales.
3% in England, I think.
3%, I believe, in England. And then you've got Scotland as well. I consider all these other costs, like the second property tax, stamp duty in general, and solicitor costs, because a lot of people don't realise as well, solicitor costs on buy-to-lets can sometimes be a can of worms. So you're just going to make sure that that you're investing in an investment, a general sort of investment, rather than something as a residential that's for your family and straightforward. So yeah, there's a couple of pros and cons of releasing equity from your home as well. So for example, releasing equity from your home for debt consolidation could be seen as negative. So debt consolidation is where you take out the extra money to write off some debts that you've already got. So for example, a loan or a credit card, but paying that debt on your mortgage with the interest might actually be a lot more than paying that off on a simple 0% credit card or low interest credit card, low interest loan, etc. It will all depend on the personal circumstances at the time, but the main thing to know is putting that on your mortgage as well. You don't make money on that. So you make money potentially on an onward buy-to-let, but adding something to your mortgage is not necessarily good for your house. Although it may, in some cases people will work it out to be better based on their personal circumstances, because it is down to their personal circumstances at the end of the day. It's a danger of that's not an investment on your house as well. So you could end up in negative equity, for example, rather than being in a position where if it was for a buy-to-let, although you could be in negative equity, you've also got a second property then that could help you. Whereas in this case, you don't have a second property, you just could end up spiralling into further debt.
Oh, I get it. It's important to look at your finances and your personal situation before you actually look into releasing equity. If I wanted to come to you and ask if to release equity, is it just as simple as saying, I want to release equity, do I need to remortgage?
Yeah, so if you wanted to release equity. If you wanted to release equity, you simply come to a broker or a lender and you ask to remortgage your house, and then they'll give you options of capital raising, they call it, debt consolidation, buy-to-let, let-to-buy. There's many options and many terms that we could go through, but we'd be here for many days, which I'm sure I bored these guys to get to death for long enough. So there's many different terms, which again, like I said, just speak to your broker, speak to a lender or whoever you need to sort that part out, because it's going to be quite detailed based on your personal circumstances. But there's many different types. You've got buy-to-lets, you've got debt consolidation, you've got general costs. You might just want to do something.
Renovations.
You might want to do something like a wedding. Believe it or not, based on what wedding costs these days, people do add these sort of things to their mortgage, and there is a reason to add something to your mortgage. Okay,
cool. That's awesome. You don't have to give them reason. Just lastly, sorry.
No, you do. You have. Most lenders will require a reason that you've got, that you're asking to increase your remortgage. So if you wanted to keep it like for like, no problem at all. If you want to ask for extra, many lenders will ask the reason for extra funds.
Okay, and on to the answers to the quiz. So, question number 1, Dav.
Number 1 was, what term important in the house buying process comes from old French words meaning dead pledge? The answer was mortgage.
Oh, told you, didn't I?
I like that one.
Okay, and number 2, what's the E word that means someone other than the person who owns a property has the legal right to use it, at least for a specific reason? And that E is easement. Have you come across that, Dav?
Yeah, quite a few times in our area.
We get it in the mortgage industry as well, lads, all right?
And we'll run through easement in another one as well.
Yeah,
it's a topic actually.
Yeah, it's a funny term.
And covenant.
Yeah.
Yes.
And number 3, you can let out your home with a residential mortgage. Now the answer, before I give it, I am going to give a disclaimer. You can do the following. So the answer is true. You can. Just to be clear, the answer is yes, you can, but there's a huge disclaimer, and that is you're not meant to. It's actually classed as an accidental landlord, and it's when somebody, for example, they've had a flat up in London, they want to move back to Swansea, they've got literally no other option because they've they've got to get down there for work or whatever. They need to go back to Swansea, but they need to rent out their house in London because there's no way, or flat, sorry, there's no way that they'll be able to afford that mortgage as well as move to Swansea or move to High Wycombe. Newcastle, Birmingham. We're not impartial to any regions in the UK. So basically the answer is yes, but huge disclaimer, you're not meant to.
But also, it's really important that you get hold of your lender if you're going to do so. You've got to speak to them and make sure it's okay.
Yes, exactly. And it's only if that lender decides that you can.
Yeah. Lastly, Dav, what's a little general knowledge question? What's the answer to this then? What do you
I
reckon?
think we've missed number 4.
We've missed number 4.
Oh, okay.
No worries.
Let's go back.
What is the current Bank of England base rate? And the answer is 4%.
As of last Thursday, I believe.
It is.
And we'll try again. So, go on then, Dav. How many of Henry VIII's wives were called Catherine?
I'm going to test my daughter on this as well. The answer is 2.
Can you name them?
Oh,
Catherine of Aragon. Is that right?
And Catherine Parr?
Oh, Catherine.
I think that's
Catherine
right.
Parr.
I think so.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2. Then there we go. That's who they are as well.
Wealth of knowledge coming from me there. Tip of the week.
And tip of the week is have a look at our PDF that we've got of buyers' tips that will be underneath our Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast description, and should be on YouTube as well.
Get a look at them and last week's of the sellers' tips.
100%. There's loads of content going on there.
Top marketing material. Enjoy it.
Love it.
Fantastic. So goodbye and thank you for listening.
Don't forget. We've just done High Wycombe as our area of the week. Thanks again, Mr. Stereo. For those of you who want some information about your area, do not forget to email us on
Inquiries at thetiesareoffpodcast.co.uk.
It would also help if you followed us on Instagram,
TikTok, LinkedIn,
and subscribed.
Subscribe as well to
Facebook,
all of them.
Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok.
All of the above.
Subscribe, like, follow. Thank you.
See you next time.
See you guys.